Kutter Crawford seems to be back on track as he absolutely dominated in the Red Sox first game of July in Miami to start the month off strong.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part is it's free. So you might as well tune in because Locked On is your team every day, and you don't have to spend any money to do it, so you really have nothing to lose. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. Welcome to the show. Happy July. I hope you have some fun plans for 4th of July tomorrow. The Red Sox are undefeated in July as we speak because they did record their first win of the month against the Marlins on the road. And it's a great way to start a road trip with a victory, especially after coming off of a rough series loss over the weekend against the San Diego Padres. It's great for the Red Sox to hopefully be able to bounce back against a team like the Marlins that very much is in a rebuilding phase as they are 30-55 right now. So this is a series the Red Sox should be winning, and they certainly showcased their power and their offensive ability in Tuesday night's game when they opened the series, as everybody in the lineup got at least one hit, which doesn't always happen. The Red Sox recorded 13 hits total in the game in an 8-3 victory, no errors, and the Marlins recorded 7 hits. So the Red Sox got the job done, and one player who just continues to absolutely make such a difference for the Red Sox is Jarren Duran, who crushed a home run in the game. And it was his 5th home run in 10 games. He is just such a dangerous hitter. It was actually his 100th hit and 10th home run of the season. He's the first American League player ever to record 100 hits, 10 triples, 10 home runs, and 20 stolen bases, all before the All-Star break. The only National League player to do that is Jose Reyes in 2008. So that's very interesting, but he's also been just so much fun to watch. And it just continues to show that he deserves to be in the All-Star game and deserves to get those votes. So make sure that, he is continuing to get those votes and lands in the All-Star game. He's just a multi-talented player with a lot of different skills he can bring to the table. So it was nice to see him crush another baseball late in the game on Tuesday night. And another player who deserves props for the Red Sox win on Tuesday is Kutter Crawford. He definitely needed a start like he had on Tuesday night. His last start prior to that was one that got cut significantly short because it was just absolutely pouring at Fenway and the Red Sox were facing the Blue Jays, and the game actually got suspended in the second inning. So it's going to be made up at the end of August. So Crawford didn't really get enough pitches in to say whether it was a good or bad start because it just didn't really fully take place. But his start prior to that was in a 5-2 loss against the Cincinnati Reds on June 21st. He went 6.1 innings in that game, gave up 5 hits and 5 runs, but 3 of them were earned. He walked 2 and struck out 7. He certainly did not have his best stuff. His problem was that he gave up 3 home runs in the game. So he just certainly did not have it, and the Reds generated all their runs in the game against him. So it was definitely tough, and he definitely needed the opportunity to bounce back, and he certainly did against the Marlins on Tuesday night, going 6 innings, giving up 3 hits and 1 earned run, which was on a solo home run later in his outing, and he struck out 7. So it was definitely huge for him to be able to get back on track in Tuesday night's start. Zach Kelly came in and pitched an inning after him. Didn't look his best, gave up 3 hits and 2 runs, with one of them being earned. He gave up a home run as well. And then the newbie, Bailey Horn, pitched 2 innings and gave up 1 hit and 0 earned runs. He also recorded a strikeout. So he looked pretty good in his second outing with this Red Sox team. So the pitching staff certainly held its own and did its job. And Kutter Crawford definitely needed that in terms of being able to refocus and hopefully get back into the dominant mode that we've seen him in for most of this season. When he gave up 3 home runs against the Reds, that was definitely uncharacteristic of him. He doesn't give up the long ball very often, has just given up 14 home runs on the season. He did give up 2 in a June 16th start versus the Yankees, and also 2 in a June 11th start versus the Phillies. But generally, he does not give up the long ball a lot. If you compare him to somebody like Nick Pivetta, Pivetta has much more of a problem with giving up the long ball. Crawford's ERA is now at a 3.47 on the season, which he was able to get back down a little bit because after his June 21st start against the Reds, it was at a 3.59. And then that very short start versus the Blue Jays went down a little bit to 3.54 because he hadn't given up any earned runs when that game got suspended. So he was able to get it down a little, but I'm hoping he can continue to pitch in dominant fashion the way that he has been. He has recorded 102 strikeouts on the season so far while giving up 38 earned runs. So he has been very solid for this Red Sox team. And the biggest thing for me was him going into this start and saying, it's been a while since his last very strong start. So he could use something like that tonight, but it's been a while since he's gotten that, especially with him not getting to throw a lot of pitches in his last start, coming off of a rough outing before that. So then you really look back a couple weeks to think about when his last good start was. And that could be a lot of time for a pitcher in between that they want to redeem themselves and can't. So I knew this was a big night for Kutter, and he was able to get the Red Sox in a good position starting their road trip 1-0 because they do go to the Bronx after this series is over to face the Yankees. And I really like Kutter a lot. I think his ability to fool guys and throw a lot of different pitches has served him very well this year. He's relying on his four-seamer 33.7% of the time. His cutter has been heavily utilized at 30.6% of the time. He goes to the sweeper 21.8% of the time. Uses a split finger very rarely at 7.8% of the time and a knuckle curve at 6%. So it would be great if he could increase his usage of one of those 2 pitches and really have 4 pitches as his go-tos. But if he has 3 solid ones, which he does with the four-seamer, the cutter, and the sweeper, those are all going to allow him to be able to continue to succeed in the future moving forward with this Red Sox team. So he could definitely work on developing his last couple pitches a little bit, but if he heavily relies on the 3 pitches that he's really confident in, then he's going to continue to keep opposing hitters on their toes. One of the biggest things to note about Kutter Crawford this year is he's getting a 24.7% strikeout rate. In 2023, it was a 25.6% strikeout rate, so it's happening a little bit less frequently this year, but not too much, compared to a walk rate in 2023 of 6.8% and a 7.3% walk rate in 2024. So he is walking slightly more batters this year than he did last year, and he's striking out slightly less people than last year, but his metrics generally are all still very good, and he is a pitcher who definitely has the potential to be great for this Red Sox team. He just needs to work on just putting everything together still and maybe developing a 4th pitch a little bit more to the point where he's feeling confident in his pitches all around so that he can use any of those pitches at any time and feel okay with it. He is in the 84th percentile for chase percentage, which is very good, 80th percentile for hard hit percentage, and also for fastball run value, the 79th percentile. So his numbers are pretty high for a lot of things. He just needs to work on his fastball velo a little bit. He's in the 26th percentile for that, averaging about 92.6 on the fastball. So he definitely needs to increase the speed of that a little bit. But overall, when you look at Kutter Crawford and his overall impact on this Red Sox team, he definitely has consistently been one of the Red Sox best starters. So if he can continue to just get himself on track and pitch the way that he was early on, then he won't be a problem moving forward. I think this was a huge start for him to be able to gain that confidence back, to get himself back on track. So moving forward, hopefully we can get more gems from him and be able to feel confident when he's out there. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about a player who has had a rough season overall in 2024, but as of late, he might be heating up. So that's coming up next. This episode of Locked On Red Sox is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rivals' cities. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival's city. I personally love going to baseball parks. My fiance and I are trying to eventually get to all of them. So we are certainly going to use booking.com to book our stays so that we can make sure we're planning these trips seamlessly. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on booking.com on the site or in the booking.com app. You absolutely should utilize it for all of your traveling stay needs. It certainly will have you covered. If you're ever trying to score last minute deals on tickets, Game Time is the place for you, whether it's for a sporting event, a concert, a comedy show, maybe something else that you're interested in going to see where you need to purchase tickets. You should head to Game Time first. That should be the first place you look. I've had so many good experiences with it in terms of the prices. It's a lot lower than other ticketing services, and it helps you see the view from your seat so that you know whether you're going to be having an experience that's worth it, so you can actually see your event. So being able to get that view from the seat is an absolute game changer. There are so many baseball games coming up that you can buy tickets through from Game Time. So if you're listening to this and saying, wow, I haven't been to a Sox game in a while, I should get to one, check out Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It really, truly will guarantee you the lowest prices, so you absolutely should check it out. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you're looking to stay caught up in all things going on in sports, Locked On Sports Today absolutely is the place for you. Is Masataka Yoshida heating up? Because in the Red Sox 8-3 win versus the Marlins on Tuesday night, it certainly seemed like he might be. He recorded 3 hits in the game as the Red Sox DH, going 3-4-5 with a run scored and an RBI. He did also record 1 strikeout, but a 3-hit night is very notable for somebody who seriously struggled to start the season. But the thing about Yoshida is he's hitting nearly 400 in his last 9 games. Does this mean he's finally turning a corner, or is he just on a hot streak and he's going to jump back into his ways of not being able to hit? I am partial to both. I feel like, I could see him one hand, him finally figuring it out and just pushing past his injury. And this is him, and he's going to start to hit more consistently. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he dips back, because we saw this last year, how he hit very well in the first half of the season and then he slumped in the second half. So we'll see if he's able to keep up what he's been doing as of late. But out of the Red Sox 13 hits on Tuesday night, he did have 3 of them. The 3 singles raised his average to 391. He went 9 for 23 over his last 10 games, a period during which he has struck out just 3 times, which is huge for him because he was swinging and missing a lot early on in the season. So far, though, thanks to other players in the lineup like Jarren Duran, Rafael Devers, Connor Wong, David Hamilton, Cedar Rafaela, the list goes on. The Red Sox have been able to string together offense despite Yoshida. But moving forward, if he can click on offense, that's only going to make this lineup so much more dangerous. So I've been sitting here begging him to figure things out for this Red Sox team, especially because, they're paying him $90 million. So he kind of has to figure it out. But a 391 average in the past 9 games is definitely super promising. His season started off slow, though. He had been challenged by Alex Cora to hit 320 this year, and he had an average nearly 75 points lower at 246 through 81 games. And then in his first 9 games after coming off the injured list on June 11th, he was 4 for 34, which was just a 118 average. So he is, trying to redeem himself from that. With the Red Sox closer to full strength after Wilyer Abreu returned, there were some questions over whether or not Cora would give some more DH at-bats to Tyler O'Neill instead of trying to put Yoshida into the lineup day after day. But finally, in the last week, he has started to wake up. Alex Cora is definitely confident in him. He said, "We like the hitter. We like the at-bat. People get caught up in the slug and hitting the ball in the air. But this guy is a quote-unquote professional hitter. We know he can hit, and I think he's getting his rhythm back." That's very important. He has been hitting in opportune situations, too. On Tuesday night, with 2 outs and 2 runs already having scored in the first inning, he demonstrated an impressive piece of hitting by basically taking an outside 1-2 changeup from the Marlins starter and placing it in the opposite field to keep the inning alive. He then led off the 4th inning with a single and scored on Rafaela's 3-run homer. And then in the 7th, with 2 men on, he recorded his 14th RBI with another knock. The Red Sox don't need Yoshida, who has 17 homers and 729 career plate appearances, to hit for a ton of power, but they do need him to continue to keep the line moving like he did on Tuesday night. He just has to keep it simple and do his job to make contacts and advance the base runners. He was saying if it's an outside pitch, he could go the opposite way and stay basic. That's the approach he's generally taking with it right now. And he's been able to stay inside the ball. He's trying to get that good angle swinging to the ball, and he feels like things are starting to go in his direction. And I've been saying for a long time that I hope he turns things around for the sake of this Boston Red Sox team, because he's the DH. And again, like I mentioned before, with how much they're paying him, it's really important to be able to rely on your DH in any situation to be able to come through and come up big. And the Red Sox have been spoiled in the past with designated hitters between, Big Papi, JD Martinez, and other players who have stepped into that role. And they don't have that type of hitter right now that can be a DH. So if Yoshida can start to figure things out, and it sounds like he is in terms of his plate approach and what he's doing, it will be an absolute game changer for Boston. And I like what I've seen from him so far recently over the last week or so. On yesterday's show, I talked about him as somebody who has to have a much better second half than he did first half. And that's something that definitely is totally possible compared to the way he's starting out. But if you look overall at what he's done this season to contribute to this Red Sox team, it has not necessarily been up to par with what the Red Sox need and are looking for. So my biggest thing with Yoshida moving forward is going to be, can he lock in offensively? And can he continue to string together some hits? Because it's great if he hits a home run. He does not hit a lot of those, and that's not something the Red Sox really are concerned about. It's more just him being able to make good contact and be able to get the base runners up and put together quality at bats, because his swings and misses and just weak ground balls constantly are just not cutting it. So I'm going to be looking for consistency there from him, because we didn't see that consistency last year, especially in the second half of the season. So I'm hoping this year would be a little bit of opposite of last year, where he has not so great of a first half but goes off in the second half. Whereas last year it was he went off in the first half and fell off in the second half. I'm hoping that this is when he turns things around. And I'm also hoping that he can just contribute as much as he can offensively and be able to be somebody that the Red Sox can rely on at that DH spot, because there are lots of guys in this lineup who can do different things when it comes to the offensive aspect of their game. They don't have a ton of guys who just hit a lot of home runs. I mean, Tyler O'Neill and Rafael Devers have been taking a lot of good care of the long ball this year for the Red Sox, but generally they have a lot of guys who are good at making contact, playing small ball, and manufacturing runs. So if Yoshida can just get himself on base, the Red Sox can try to find ways to score him and get him in. So I definitely am starting to be a little bit more optimistic about him. I'm still very low on him when it comes to the depth chart and his contributions with the Red Sox this year as a whole. But I'm definitely keeping an open mind about the situation, because he had a big game on Tuesday night. And it's one thing to say, I don't trust him because I haven't trusted him all season, but another to say he definitely can't turn things around. Both of those can be true, but I'm hoping that he starts to gain trust back, because the Red Sox are committed to this guy for a while, whether people like it or not. And we want to at least feel good about this signing that the front office made and allow him to be able to find his swing again. And you have to give the guy some slack because of injury and him missing some time due to being on the IL, but he has a grace period, not a very long one. And so far, he is starting to make it seem like he's more confident at the plate and something is clicking with him. So hopefully he can continue to hit the way that he has been over the last week or so. And whatever it is that he has done to change his plate approach, stick with that, because that has been something that has been very successful for him and seems to have been working. So we'll see what happens moving forward with him, if he's able to hit well against good pitching moving forward and against competitive teams. So hopefully he does that. And coming up, I'm going to be talking about a player who has just been hitting all season long for the Red Sox and just hasn't been a disappointment and has continued that as of late. If you're looking for a fun way to play daily fantasy sports, PrizePicks is absolutely the place for you. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. If you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every week. From lowering select players' stats projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Just download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. It really does make it super easy for you to win money, so you might as well just check it out. Also, just a reminder to check out Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app, as we as a network have launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. So make sure you check that out today if you're looking to stay caught up on all things going on in sports. The Boston Red Sox had a great win on Tuesday night against the Marlins, 8-3 on the road, with Brian Bayo set to start in tonight's game after having his last start pushed back because the Red Sox wanted to give him some time to work on things mechanically, because he definitely has had a disappointing season relative to what people were expecting. And he definitely is somebody who needs to have a better second half, like I've mentioned on the show, in order to stay on track with this Red Sox rotation. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out of the gates on Wednesday night. There's two ways that you can see his start being pushed back. It's either you got demoted or that we're actually helping you out to take a breather. In the Red Sox case, this was the latter option, that they're just helping him out to take a breather, hopefully giving him time to figure out what he's been struggling with and get himself back on track. So I'm hoping for a big start from him tonight. But a player who has consistently been very good for this Red Sox team this year is Connor Wong. He recorded a hit going 1-for-5 in the game on Tuesday night. He did also have 2 strikeouts, but he drove in a run. And that hit for him extended his hitting streak to 16 games, which is absolutely crazy. I mean, he has been somebody who has been consistently one of the Red Sox best hitters this year. And now his batting average is at a .324 after that game. He has been hitting over 300 all season long. He has 213 at-bats on the season with 26 runs scored, 69 hits, 31 RBIs, 14 walks, 46 strikeouts, 7 home runs, and 3 stolen bases. He is not a home run heavy hitter. He does not need to be, although he has hit a couple big home runs in big situations for the Red Sox this year. But he is making a ton of contact, getting on base, and driving in runs for this Red Sox team. And that's something that's been so important, is his ability to make contact. And he has adjusted a lot with his swing this year, and it has really paid dividends for him in terms of his ability to contribute and be one of the most successful Red Sox hitters this season. When he extended his hitting streak to 16 games, it actually tied for the 4th longest by a Red Sox catcher, behind Victor Martinez with 25 in 2009, Carlton Fisk with 18 in 1976, Carlton Fisk with 17 in 1975 into 76, and then there's Connor Wong with 16 in 2024. So he is slowly working his way up the ladder. If he can continue to get a hit in a few more straight games, he could pass a couple of legendary players on that list. So I've been very impressed by Connor Wong this season. What puts this into perspective really is just the fact that he has been so disciplined at the plate and he's having fun with it. I always see him smiling when he gets on base, and he is just happy to be playing good baseball. And it's been great for him when it comes to the development of the Red Sox catching as a whole, because the catching tandem was a bit of a concern last year. You had Connor Wong, who wasn't really performing at the plate, and Reese McGuire, who wasn't really performing defensively. Now Connor Wong has put things together at the plate, and he has always had the good defense with his glove. So that's kind of a full package catcher, somebody who can nail down potential base stealers on defense behind the dish, but also can put up numbers offensively. And that's something that's going to put the Red Sox in a much better place to be able to succeed down the road when it comes to maybe bringing up Kyle Teal and having a catching tandem that's super successful. So I've really liked what I've seen from Connor Wong on the season, and extending his hitting streak on Tuesday night is only going to hopefully help with his confidence and boost his ability to be able to continue to stay on track and say, hey, I can do this, and I have been hitting well, and I've been keeping this lineup together. And it's especially good to note that in a lineup full of talented players, if he has been standing out the most as one of the most consistent hitters, that is so promising for this player. The Red Sox have been hoping and praying that he would pan out after they got him in the Mookie Betts trade. And now they are starting to see some of the effects of the player that they traded for, somebody who is showing off his athleticism. He can steal some bases himself, and he makes things happen. And he just has such a high baseball IQ. And something else about Connor Wong that's been an improvement this year is his base running. He made some pretty bad base running blunders last year in terms of his decisions, and he was trying to be too aggressive on the base paths when he shouldn't have been. He's a lot smarter now when it comes to when he should be running and when he shouldn't. So I've noticed a big leap in his game from last year to this year. And there's a lot of different things that you can point that to, but it's awesome that he's on this big hitting streak right now. And that just only echoes the fact that he has been one of the most consistent hitters this team has had all season long. And it's certainly exciting for a Red Sox team that is really trying to put everything together and put themselves in a position to be in a wild card spot and contend for the playoffs. So I definitely have loved what I've seen from Connor Wong this year and several other hitters in the Red Sox lineup who will hopefully continue to contribute at a highly competitive level, like Duran, like Wilyer Abreu, like obviously Rafael Devers, who's the face of the franchise. Maybe Tyler O'Neill will stay hot because he is somebody who had 2 hits in the game on Tuesday night. So that was great to see too. O'Neill is at a 257 batting average with a 352 on base percentage and 528 slugging right now. I'm hoping he can get those numbers up a little bit and hit a little bit more consistently for this Red Sox team. He's been very power heavy, launching lots of baseballs out of the park, but can he string together those other hits and keep himself a relevant, important piece in this Red Sox lineup? So that's definitely another player that I'd like to see blossom into a key piece for this Red Sox team as the rest of the season progresses. But Connor Wong, I can't emphasize enough how important he's been to this Red Sox team this year, and his ability to just have started to develop skills in so many different areas of his game is certainly going to serve him and the team well as they continue to grind, continue to win games, and put themselves in playoff contention. The Yankees did lose last night and the Red Sox won, so the division is still not out of the question. If we had said this 2 weeks ago, it would have been crazy to even think about saying, just because the Red Sox were 14 games out of the division at one point. So being able to come back now and say that they are within striking distance because they're playing a baseball and they're winning games is a huge thing to say. And hopefully they win this series, coming off a good win last night, and hopefully they can win at least one of the next 2, but ideally a sweep over a team like the Marlins would be good to get them back on track after the rough weekend series. So we'll see what happens with it, but really liked what I saw from a lot of people on Tuesday night. Lots of players in the lineup getting themselves involved, and it was definitely fun to watch this Red Sox offense, and certainly fun to watch Kutter Crawford have that bounce back start that he needed. He did get the win in the game. So lots of good things for the Red Sox that happened on Tuesday night, and hopefully they can continue to win and continue to give themselves a chance, because they definitely are talented and might be even more talented than people think. So people will give them a chance, and they give themselves a chance. we could see a lot of fun Red Sox baseball down the stretch and lots of meaningful baseball in September. So we'll see what happens. But as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.